What's up, guys? This is Russ, bringing here another deck profile. So this one, as you can probably tell, it's about Kantai collection. There's been a lot of recent interest in the series. I mean, the anime came out, people started getting familiar with the ship girls, which is, pretty cool. Yeah, so Kongou seems to be one of the most requested ones, although, as you may know, the yellow-green build, is topping all the time in Japan. Even in the States, yellow-green is everywhere. Like, people were doing basic Kagi builds, anti-heal, anti-salvage, all that. Well, this build is not like that. It's different. This build pretty much does all the things that yellow-green said not to do when you play against it, but, the recent restriction list came out, and people are opting more towards just, sticking to anti-heal and, if anything, a couple guys that do anti-salvage still, but generally you'll see a lot more healy than anything. And this deck doesn't really hurt by anti-heal, but anti-salvage does hurt it. So if Meta Busters is in your area, like people are jamming 12 Kyosuke's on the field, probably don't want to be playing this deck because your advantage relies purely on salvage for the most part. But you do have ways to play around it, of course. And alright, without further ado, I will bring my stream. Well, stream video. Alright, so first I run 2 copies of this Shiramitsu card. I can never say her name. God. So basically what this card is, it's a runner. At the start of your opponent's step, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 1 or higher, this dies. If it's level 0 or lower, you can run it to anywhere in the front. Another unique ability, it has Brainstorm. So pay 1, rest 2 characters. Every Climax Mill, draw a card. Very good. I do like opening with it. Plus, I mean, even if it dies, you're like, okay, whatever. I mean, that's fine. This deck doesn't really care about power. It's just, if you do get it off, it's just another turn of advantage for you, but the deck has plenty of advantage as it is, so. I like it, mainly the color, the art, and, yeah. Although I'm showing you blue cards, this is a mainly red deck. I'm only splashing blue for all the level 0 tech, because I think it's really cool. Next, this card. So this is it's 2k base stats. When you play a Climax, it gains another 1500 power. So you go Climax is 13.5. Sorry, 3.5. Also another effect is when it attacks, you pay 1, discard a card, search your deck for a Fleet Girl. The reason this is good is, say for example, I am going to swing with 3 characters per turn. I often do this. I'll put this up in the front. So you'll be swing. Say for example, you trigger Climax with your first character. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Attack with this, pay it out instantly. Fix your hand a bit, get whatever you need for your level 1, level 2, level 3 game attack, whatever. Just a very good solid card overall. I like being able to pay out Climax, and any decks that allow me to do that, I usually try to run, at least 1 to 2 copies of things that do that. Very solid. This is the Searcher, so can't go wrong. Next we have Tokitsukaze. So this is a spammable Brainstorm. Spammable Search Brainstorm. As you can tell, I have like a lot of tech here, like a lot of mill, a lot of brainstorm so far. Well, this is because I just want to be managing my stock perfectly. This deck compresses extremely well. If you let it just sit at level 1 for a while, the game gets kind of ridiculous because you see your opponent, he has like 20 stock and it's all clean. So Tokitsukaze is just good in case, say for example, I open up 5 Climax. I want to zoom through my deck. So usually by turn 3 with this deck, turn 2, turn 3, I can already go through my whole deck. Very powerful, and it gets you out of really bad situations. There's no reason not to be running at least one of these in every combo deck, sorry, every Kantai deck. Very solid. Yellow-green does run this as well, so. Next, one of my cards that I don't see a lot of people play, but I mean, I'm really fond of it, so Rasha. So on play, she's a top check. You check the top card of your deck, do not reveal, but you top check, you put it on the top or the bottom. These types of effects are extremely good. If you play Magic the Gathering, you understand why scrying is just almost broken, right? So this is her first ability. Your second ability is another amazing ability with this deck. It's pay 1, draw 1, ditch 1. So even more card filter. You should never have a Climax in your stock ever, and you should never have excess Climax in your hand with this deck. Solid. And honestly, with all this blue splash, I could probably put like some weird blue cards too, but I'm trying to keep it more Kongou based. Next, we have 2 copies of Inazuma. So this is a card that got restricted a bit. I believe it was yellow-green. I think it was the previous iteration before the current restriction list. She was on there with, I think, Musashi or something like that. But anyway, so this card's ridiculous. Basically, on play, real top card of your deck. If it's a Fleet Girl, she stands, okay? If it's not, if it's a climax, it's an event or whatever, she goes to rest. So early game, you're like, oh crap, I opened up this card and I have to rest it. Boo. But think of it like this. Usually you run, 14 to 16 level zeros. So this shouldn't be your only level zero play in hand most of the time. Late game, this is amazing because it lets you top check your deck. You're like, okay, there's a climax there. Maybe you're close to refresh and you have 6 cards left in deck. You can mill it up. That's just knowledge, you get sight at what your deck is. The secondary effect on this card, why they have the rest effect, is because it's 2/5 base. As you know, like the Reiki Searcher, those types of cards have 2,000 power. So for the extra 500 girth, you're gonna have to do essentially a negative effect. But in my opinion, I love the effect to be able to just look at my top card. So on reverse, if this card gets reversed, and at your encore step, you pay 1, you clock yourself 1, and you search a level 1 or lower. So it's not instantly on reverse like the Soft Key Searcher from Killer Kill. It's, okay, you die, and then they're done swinging, encore step, then you pay the cost. Pay 1, clock yourself, search level 1 or lower. So a plus. Very good card. Sets up your level 1 game very hard, or it gets you necessary level 0 tech in case you are, climax screwed or something. Just get to run. Next, very basic card, we run 3 copies of the Satsuki. As you can tell, I don't have many choices of beaters at level 0. I focus a lot of tech. So sometimes you feel like you want to deny your opponent's advantage. Damn fun. So if you see somebody playing, 4K something, and you feel like he's just going to generate too much stock on it, feel free to reverse it. This deck doesn't really care about power. Like, I've played games where people have 7 cards in hands because I literally don't kill anything, I just side attack the whole game, and I still win because you get to level 3 and you just burn them out. It's very key when you play this deck to understand damage. Understand where your damage is, where your opponent's damage is, and when you need to actually crash something. Secondary ability of this, besides a level 0 bomb, you can pay 2 and encore it. So if it's dead, say for example I trigger 2 climax and I had no ways to pay it out of my hand for whatever reason, pay 2, save it. Very good. I mean, gives you another turn of advantage and lets you not have to commit another card to the board if you don't feel it. Also, it's red splash. Not that really matters in this deck. Alright, now 4 copies of this card that I believe is borderline questionable in terms of the design, but okay, so they're starting to release these for all these sets. What this card is, it says on play, you discard a card from your hand. You mill 4 cards. You add a character from those 4 cards to your hand. It says search it, I think, in the translations, but I mean, I just say choose a character from those 4 and put it in your hand. You can mill up to 4. It's not exactly 4. You can do like 2, 3, however much you feel. Generally, early game, you want to try to zoom through your deck, try to get you closer to refresh with like slight compression. It's pretty good. Why this is ridiculous is because, say for example, I have 1 card in deck. On play, discard a climax from my hand. Oh wow, like that just puts a climax right back. Very, very good card. This thing is ridiculous. I really don't know if this thing's going to stay unrestricted, but Bushiroad seems to be pushing these types of cards, like the Azusa. I think Milky Home just got theirs released for the 2nd stage. So, I mean, it's fun to use. It's really fun to use, but will it stick around? I don't know. Next, we have 2 copies of the Katsushi. So this is a clock brainstorm. Very standard, 2,000 power. Pay 1, rest it, no climax. Sorry. Mill 4 cards from the top of your deck. Each climax you mill, you get a card in your clock, add it to your hand, the top card of your deck to your clock. It's a plus. No reason not to do it. I mean, if you feel like, you need some cards in hand, or there's something important in your clock that you want, feel free to do it. Or if you're like me and you're just like, you have 18 cards in your hand and you're like, I want more cards, brainstorm, get 7 more cards, just card like 19 cards at the end. But yeah, it's just very good. As you can see, I run a total of, I think, 2, 4, 5, 3, 5 brainstormers in this deck. If you include the Katsuki's, that's 3. Yeah, I'm not even going to do math right now, but that's a lot. So, a lot of reach, a lot of ways to mill your deck, and I think milling your deck's really strong. Like, milling is very strong. If you've ever played, Log Horizon, you understand why Mario is so good. It's costless. Alright, now on to level 1. We run 4 copies of this 10 unit. I love this card. So this card, you can see it's 4/5 base, but it says you get 2 or more other Girl characters, she gets another 1,000 power, so she becomes a vanilla essentially. Why this card is good is because it has a Climax Combo. Climax Combos with this gate says, I expected, so raise the ante. One of the most base combos you can do at level 1. Pretty much, level 1 is about having a Climax Combo. If you do not have it, don't panic. Like, if you don't have this Climax combo, it's fine. Just mill through your deck, get it refreshed, and hopefully draw into it. If not, whatever, you know, just keep generating clean stock. What this card says is if this Climax is placed, when this attacks, pay 1 salvage a character. So you can see why yellow-green like destroys this deck, right? Like if you ran Hatsukaze. But, you know, hopefully people have toned down on Hatsukaze, and I don't believe there's many LD players anymore. Like, I mean, every shop sure has them, but you won't see it a flood like Kantai. Why this is good is because it pays out Climax. So, say for example, this is character A, character B. Character A swings, triggers a gate. So trigger gate, I'm like, oh man, I have a gate, I trigger my first gate for the first swing. Go swing attack with this, do the Climax combo, pay it out, salvage a character, good, clean stock again. So this deck is all about maintaining clean stock and compressing really hard. Also good for plussing. Usually if you play 3 of these and you have Toscas in the back, you still get about 2 stock. Very good. Generally you only need to do a combo with, say for example I have 3 of these on the field, you only need to do it like twice because odds are you'll hit a gate, like a gate midway. You're running 8 gates anyway. So just very good for manipulation and just getting the cards you need. Say for example I need to get a tea time ready or something, you know. This helps put the Climax in your waiting room for level 2. So very solid card, I highly recommend it. Next card, we have 4 copies of this Tosca. People get mad at me when I call her Tostada, but I like giving my ship girls like steel. So, this card. This card is amazing. This card is fun. Like, this is the reason you play this deck, besides the combo, of course. So, she says you can tap her, and you can put a ship girl from your waiting room underneath as a marker. Then you're like, this is the weakest marker option I've ever seen. No, it's a stock charge. So, what this says is every turn, you can tap this. Depending on her position or what's underneath her, like say for example, she has no marker. When she rests, put a marker, a fleet girl. So keep in mind, this is going to be clean compression. So during your next upkeep, so you stand, right? If you do it again, that goes to stock. So essentially you're going to be doing this 2 stock every 2 turns. So one turn will be put the stock underneath, second turn will be this, put 2 stock. You might think that's a little slow. So let me show you why this deck loves this combo. So notice how your Tenryus and your Toscas. Why do I run 8 copies? They both Climax combo with the Anchor Climax. Okay? So what Tosca says is, essentially I can just go make this a turn 1 clock. Basically say whatever, you know, your field is some card deck. You go, turn 1, you play this at level 1. Boom, boom. 2 cards underneath those markers. Then you're like, okay, your opponent's like, okay, whatever, he has 2 stock there, right? Then you go, Climax combo. Keep in mind, this is during the first turn. So the first turn that you do this, if you have the Climax combo, you can put the marker underneath directly into your stock already. That's insanely good. The reason why that's good is, so for example, if I had 2 of these Climaxes, I don't mind holding 2 of them because that's 2 turns of 2 extra stock. You know? Being able to do this instantly is relatively important, especially if you're close to refresh, because you can pull essentially, I'd say 4 cards before you first refresh, and you will always pull at least 2 cards before refresh, just further compressing. By your second refresh, you should be pulling at least 8 to 12 cards with this. I have literally pulled almost 20 cards from my waiting room and put it into my stock with this. Insanely good. I highly recommend this. Also, like if you're trolling your friends, you can do something like this, like I like to do. So you go, they're, say for example, they're at 2-5, and they have no way to get to level 3, and you're like, okay, boom, 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 stock charge 4, and they don't even swing. Put all 4 stock to you. Put 4 stock from underneath your Totstas. They get salty. Very good. Alright? And I cannot stress how fun this combo is to do. It's one of the funnest decks, probably, that I've ever made. So, next we have 2 of his Nasumi. She's a level 1 bomb. Unique interaction is when she attacks, she gives 1000 power to, I think it was light aircraft, I forgot what it's called, but she gives 1000 power to the Tenryu. So your Tenryu becomes from a 5-5 to a 6-5. You know, it doesn't really matter about power, because generally you do side with her anyways, because, I mean, most fields are like, you know, 11k at level 1 now, I mean, like, you got all these wall decks coming out. Still, side attack for damage, you know, or just bomb it. So bomb 1 lane, side the 2 lanes, keep 1 lane open, you know, not too far behind. Just make sure you're always getting damage, and like I said, no one to crash. Just good synergy and good for removing problems like if you're playing against twins, if you're playing against Sly. you're playing against any marker card that has to stay at level 1. Fatty level 1s, just good stuff. A lot less significant against like terraformers that are running, you know, the anti-bomb walls, but against those, side attack, you know, very simple. Next we run Ashigara. This is a 2-5 backup, so it's a 1500 base backup that costs 1 stock. I know it's kind of hard to see, I'm sorry guys, but I'll do my best. Also it says when you use this backup, choose one of your fleet girls in battle and give it another 1000 power. So if you're playing a standard deck and you're playing animal or something, you would not give the 1000 power. But pretty much you back up any card in Kantai, he will get the 2-5. Very solid. Next we have costless 1500 backup. Melody. Card, I mean, I could change this out for something else. I was thinking about changing it out for a Mill Brainstormer, but as it stands, you know, it's there, it's costless. I mean, sometimes people do try to kill my my Tenryu with the 6k, and I'm like, okay, I can deny it with this. Keeping your Tenryu alive is generally good, because you never know you're going to draw into another Climax Combo. So it's here. It might be something else in the future. Next we have Maya. So, can you even see that? God, that's horrible. Okay, it's a 2/2 4K backup. It is 1000 base stats, but I'm not sure if you can see it, but it does have 2 soul. The reason I run this in this deck is because you can generally afford to play this at any time. I mean, it's a 4K backup. It's nothing crazy like Man Seal or, you know, the Fairy Tail 6/5, but still, it's salvageable, it's searchable, and late game you can just ram it for 2 soul. Not like you're gonna be ramming at late game unless you're playing against some like hyper level 3 game like Log Horizon or something, but generally your level 3 game beats out almost every other level 3 game, I'd say. Yeah, so just it's in there. Next we have Hosho. She is a level based. Secondary effect, on play, pay 1 discarded card, search a light aircraft carrier, and I think it's I don't know what the other one was, but it searches not many things in my deck, so it's like I don't even pay attention to it. I've never actually used the effect because I'm probably bad. But still, I use it mainly for the level booster. Just solid card. I mean, it makes your late game even more scary. Your Kongou center becomes, well, what, 13/5, 15k? So you have like a 15k center Condo, the 3/3 version. Good on the offense too. So, yeah. Next, we have the beautiful portion called the Condo portion. So, 3 copies of Tea Time. What Tea Time is, it's pretty much, it's an advanced summon. So what this card says, if you have 6 Climax in your waiting room, you can play this. It gets -1 level in the end. As you can tell with this deck, it is very easy to get 6 Climax in your deck. I'm sorry, in your waiting room. So let me talk about this card though. So you have 2 other Fleet Girl characters. I think it's 2 other Fleet Girls. Yeah, 2 other Fleet Girls. She gains another 1000 power, so she's 10/5. On play, she salvages a character, a Fleet Girl from your waiting room. So you can set up your level 3 game. I usually do this, you know, play whatever. Salvage Condo, get your level 3 game ready. This is just another way, it's another reach. I think of this like a 2/2 event, but it gives you a character instead of a, you know, 2 cards. It gives you 1 card on field and 1 card to your hand. Just another way to get more cards. As you can see, this is also, everything interacts with your waiting room. So managing your waiting room and making sure you don't play this, say for example, never reason, just play this card. It's always good because you'll always pay out of stock, you'll always have something to salvage. Even if you're into level 3, refreshing your deck brand new, you pay out 2 stock, hopefully you can get a character from that. The worst case scenario is you pull, you know, 2 Climax with it. That doesn't happen often. Next, my favorite card next to, you know, the Tosca Tenryu combo. So, base Kongou herself. So you're wondering, she's like, wow, Kongou, she's a battleship, but why does she have 8500 power? It's because she does like 19 different things. Okay, so this card, on play, if it reverses something, you can salvage 2 characters. You can see why this thing is terrifying, right? Like, I mean, especially if you're close to a refresh and all 3 of these Kongous reverse something, you're taking 6 cards out of your deck prior to a refresh. Even more compression, like, insane. So, what this card says is it has a Climax combo with, oops, just kidding. With this Climax is called Ready Fire. The flavor text for this card is Burning Love, by the way, for the fans out there. So if you play this Climax, what this says is when Kongou has his Climax placed, when she attacks, if this is here, she gets to burn your opponent 1. So this already beats out anti-damage counters by getting at least 1 damage in before the anti-damage can take place. So say for example you're playing Middle Busters, they say, okay, money counter. Wait, it's when this attacks, so they still have to burn 1 prior. They can stop the attack that follows, but they cannot stop the first burn. That's why the ping burns are extremely good, because they bypass anti-damage in that way. That's sense. Compass is 1. Right, so here's what happens. So you burn 1, this card gets 3000 power. It's a Climax Combo with this. So it's burn 1, this gains 3k. So it becomes 11-5 base. 11-5, then you have 12-5. Then you have 14k. So you can see this thing killing almost everything in the game. Usually power spikes are about 13k on the sides, and the max you'll see in the center is maybe about 16 to 17k. Still, you are able to kill the sides with ease. You do not have to front attack with the Congo to get the burn effect. So say for example you're playing against like, you know, something that's like 19k in the center for whatever reason. You go, okay, cool, side, burn you, and still maybe trigger soul or something to get at least damage. Reason why you are okay with siding with this card is because of her last ability. Her ability says, at your encore step, if she's rested, keyword is rested, you can change 3/3 Congo. If this Congo's in your waiting room, you can change into this. Bam. She heals on play. Okay. So keep in mind, it has to be rested. If this card is reversed, you cannot do the change into the 3/3 Congo. Alright, and that goes on to say, this card pushes a lot of damage. Sometimes if you're not paying attention, it just flat out kills your opponent. Like, I mean, I've played this card sometimes, I'll just put 3 Congos and expect to just push them to level 3, whatever. They're like level 2, and they just die. It's very similar to a Marika effect without the rescan, so you're pretty much just playing 3 Marikas. Marika, and sometimes that's enough to kill people. If they die, cool, I mean you win, but if not, you still have a sustained game to play. Also remember that you do run fatty backups, you have 2/5 backups, you have 4k backups. So if you have 2 level boosters protecting a Congo, you know, you might say, okay, I only have 2 cards in my clock, I'll heal 2 of the Congos by changing twice, and I'll keep the 3rd one. So if I protect her, the following turn, I can just change and get the extra heal off. Card value, right? Okay, so let's go on to the final card of this deck, which is, oh, there she is. I run 4 copies of this because I love it. I love 3/3s. The visual art series, as you know, the 3/3 Shacho, like, same thing. This gains 500 power for each of your other fleet girls, so it's a 12k base. On play, it heals. Also, if it's brought in through a change, it also heals. Her ability also says, during your opponent's step, if this card is reversed, you can discard a card and she gets encore. Then if you use that effect, say for example you had to encore her that way, at your opponent's, I think it's at your opponent's step or it's your next step, she goes to the waiting room. I'm pretty sure it's at your next step. But still, it's encore, it gives you another turn to do something. You know? Just a very solid card. It's your change target. Not many people kill this card. Once this comes out, usually I protect it pretty well. I mean, keeping it on the sides ensures that you can actually just back her up with a 4k backup. Just protect her even more. Feel free to, because this deck generates a lot of stock. You will be able to just play it from hand. I have played these from hand, just because I had, you know, 25 stock. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Boom. Very solid card, nothing else to say. I mean, it's just the Great Wall of Congos. Unfortunately, some decks do get over her, but, you know, there will be plenty of decks that this just says, no, you can't touch it. Alright, next let's do our Climax Combo. So we do... Oh my goodness. Am I missing a gate? Okay. Hold on, let me find my gate. Okay, for whatever reason I can't find my gate, that's fine. That makes me sad. Anyway, so these are 4 gates. There's 4 of these in the deck. And we run 4 of these. Obvious reasons, this climaxes with Condo, this climaxes with the 10-meter Tosca. As you can see, it's 8 gates, so you'll be super Nipponese and you get lots of plus. You'll generally trigger about 2 to 3 of these per game. I mean, if you're, I'd say unlucky, you trigger 5. I mean, it's still a plus, but then you have to make sure you're managing your resources well. Don't forget this deck pays out Climax very well, so never feel afraid when you trigger, just pay it out. Find ways to pay it out. So I'll show you exactly what a level 1 Climax combo would look like at full, so you can see how it interacts. Oops. Jeez. Wait, look this one. Wait, what? Okay, I'm not sure what happened, but now we have 4 games. Sweet. Thank you, Kantai. Alright, so we got 3 of these, and we have 2 tostadas, or, sorry, Todd still. Waiting. So how you would do this at level 1, to put it into motion, right? Let's pretend this is my deck just for example purposes. So you go level 1, place all your stuff, bam bam. Technically it's supposed to be 1 at a time, I do 2 because, people know what's going on. So tap 1, tap 2, keep in mind it has to be Fleet Girl, you can't be cute and try to put a Climax there, why would you do that, but you know, just in case. So, Climax Combo, as soon as you play this, move the stock over. You know what, I'll put some Climax in this stack, just to show you how I can play up the Climax. Cool. So say for example for some reason I had 5 cards in my hand, right? So I only need 2 cards here to go back to 7. Never go to 8. Discarding cards is generally bad unless you're trying to discard a Climax extra. But, you know, it's not generally what you want to keep your stock. You want to start compressing with your stock ASAP. So how this would work is I would attack. I would not resolve this because I only need to resolve 2 pluses, right? So trigger. I would front here for 2, right? Say for example they had a level 0 out. Kill it. Swing here. I'm going to side because they have a 1/1 9 gate, right? Sure. Side for 1. Gate. Get back this to my hand, right? Now I go swing this attack. Pay 1. See? Pay it out. Salvage a character with the Climax Combo. And then you swing for 2, right? So you just plus back to 2. You had 5 cards in hand, now you have 7 cards. If you had 4 cards, you would do this 3 times. Like, very simple, right? But it's all about maintaining resources, paying out your Climax on time. As you can see, I have, 4 stocks swinging with 3 characters here. Even if I paid it only once. You will still have 2 stock if you do it twice. But generally the reason why you want to do this Climax Combo ASAP is to refill your hand. Because you're going to be committing at least 2 cards to the board. 100% you're going to be committing 2 cards. These 2 cards have to come back. That's why we run Inazuma, that's why we run Hibiki, that's why we run so many searchers. Because you want to have these 2 cards. There's 4 copies, so you should always have them. Alright, what's some other interactions that I can show you? Let's see, what other things do I like to do? Oh, keep in mind, remember, this is a pseudo top 10 enemy, so it can do it without a Climax. So if you trigger a Climax, always remember, if you feel like you just you refresh with 30 cards in your deck, 8 Climax in there, play this. Make sure you get this and play this, because you never know when you're going to trigger. Your compression is high at that point, so the chances you triggering is very high. So having this in the front helps ensure that you can still maintain clean stock. I'd like to put another copy in, but I feel like the deck only needs 1, because you run 8 gates, you run tons of search, tons of salvage. Not tons of search, but tons of salvage. So you should never have a problem getting this card. Okay. Okay, Condo. How should I do this? Say for example you are playing against somebody who plays Hatsukage, right? Keep in mind, you can still do this at the end. So this is an on reverse effect. Say for example you swing with 3 of the Kongos, right? You do not resolve. You reverse 2, okay? You say, okay, reverse, I don't resolve the effect to salvage 2. You swing with the last one, you go 1, 2, they take the damage, then you reverse them. If you salvage 2 characters at the end from this last swing, you do not get the minus result because your damage is already inputted before the reverse effect. So there's ways to play around Hatsukaze's. Kyosuke? No. Kyosuke just says discard everything. This deck is I would never play this against Meta Busters, no one. There's not even 1 chance I would do that. But every other deck, I'd feel completely fine doing it. Even against Hatsukaze, I give up a turn of doing damage just to plus. It's all about keeping tempo. You want to make sure that you're able to stay on par with your opponent's damage. And generally this deck, you want to be at least at a 1-to-1 level. So when you do drop your Kongos, you can either ensure that A, they die, or B, you're going to be in a really tough spot to kill. You'll have, 3 of your fat Kongos out or whatever. So this is your end game, this is your sustain, this is your advantage at late game. The only bad part about level 3 is you lose all the stock manipulation that you had in your early levels. Like if you notice levels 0 through 2, all we're doing is just making sure clean compression. And then level 3, if you trigger gates and stuff, you generally don't have ways to pay it out. I mean, you're kind of stuck with it there unless you're playing, more Kongos to pay out the stock. Besides that, it's just, this is all you got. Oh my god, stop messaging me. Alright guys, hope you like this deck profile. I mean, it's one of my favorite decks to play now. I mean, I can't think of a time I haven't had fun with this. It does stuff. It does stuff, and it does good stuff, good fun stuff. Hopefully, tell your friends, if they just watch Kongou, or sorry, they watch Kantai Collection, the anime. If their entry level was the anime, come tell them to look at this deck. If they want to come play some Weiss, just like, hey man, I know you like Kantai and all, but check out this deck profile. It's just a starting base. This is not the end all be all. I mean, there's probably like 18 different variations of this deck that you could do. This is just the one that I prefer because I like having the options, the control over my deck, and to be able to control my opponent, because you force your opponent into weird situations with this deck. They'll say, you're not killing anything. What do I do with all these cards in my hand? So, very simple stuff. Oh my god, this gonna bother me. Okay, so I'm gonna cut the stream there, guys. Thank you for watching, and feel free to comment. I'm gonna upload this on YouTube.